Alright guys, well, it's another cold morning. I don't know what it is. It's chilly. I almost want to go get a coat of my vest or something on, but hoodie and a hat is what it is because it'll warm up here pretty quick. Sun's just coming up. I'm letting little John warm up. Today we're going to, the only thing I can do today is check pilot pressure. So I'm going to try to explain what pilot pressure is to you guys if you don't know. If you know, you may not even be watching this video. This video is more for people like me that I'm trying to diagnose my own machine. For the plain fact, I'm not trying to be cheap. I'm not trying to take work away from anybody. I want to know how the machine works. I like working on them. I just don't know what, what the flow of it is and all that. I didn't understand pilot pressure compared to regular pressure. I'm going to try to explain it to you. I hope I explain it correctly. I'm sorry if I give you false information, but hopefully this video will help you understand a little better. So, at least on John Deere, at least on this machine, I've got a 75D. I would assume a 75 and 85 is exactly the same, except for a couple added features, because an 85 obviously has a pivot boom. My machine does not, which I am a standard boom, conventional boom, whatever you want to call it. My boom actually goes into the house. A pivot boom is the one up here like all the minis have. So, and this is a mid-size excavator. Not super popular. This 75 is not popular at all around this area. I've only seen a couple of them up for sale. I ended up having to buy this from New York. But a lot of the pilot controls, or all the pilot stuff, you can test them with this little fitting. This is a, what is the terminator on it? 6602. This is a 6602, so that describes this type of T. And it is a 6602-040404. And 6602 means you have male, and female in that configuration of a T. That's how they do hydraulic fittings. They all have kind of a designation of style, and then you'll have, -4, -4, -4, or you'll have, -6, -6, -6, and that's describing the size of the fitting. But I've got it idled up. Let's idle it down real quick so we can talk kind of next to the machine. I'm trying to get my oil temperature up. Your oil temperature is supposed to be, I'd have to look at the book. Well, I don't have a book. I have it digitally. Is that starting to warm up in there? Your temperature needs to be like 110 to 130. Obviously, it's like 20 or 25 degrees, maybe 30 degrees this morning. It's going to take a minute to get it warmed up. I've got it stretched out funny here like this, because that's how it says to stretch it up. And I had to fill, because I've had this thing apart so many times, I had to fill my hydraulic tank. Yes, I know it's over full, but I'm going to take a lot of stuff apart. So I'm going to keep draining fluid until I figure out what's wrong with this machine. So, let's try to explain pilot to you. I had this panel off. I put it back on because I thought we might have some rain. I didn't want to get rain all in it, so I closed the machine up. It doesn't take long to get it off, but I don't need it off for this purpose. So, on a 75, your pilot filter is down here. This is your pilot filter housing. It's right behind your selector valve. This is to select it for single acting or double acting hydraulics. So if you have a thumb, you want it double acting hydraulics. If you have a breaker on the front and no thumb, or if you're running a breaker, you want to turn this that direction, and that's single acting. It only goes one way. This will go forward and reverse the way it is right now. When you turn it this way, it only goes one way for like a breaker. So it's right behind your selector valve. This is your pilot filter housing. There's a panel up underneath here. You pull this bolt and this bolt. You leave these two, because I took all four out. These two hold the bracket. So you take this one out and this one out, and this panel just comes right off. You can leave that bolt, take this one all the way out, leave this one because it's slotted, and pull it out, and you can reach up there and you can actually take your pilot filter out. So to check pilot pressure, I could show you in the computer also, but there's a hose. I can see it and I can put my hand to it, but I think once I do, it's that hose right there. Here's your regulator, and then here's your hose. I'll pull it up in the computer and show you, and that way it'll show you a diagram. Well, the regulator is actually shimmed. You put shims in it to increase pressure, or you take shims out to lower the pressure. Pilot pressure, I'm going to try to explain it, but I may get the terminology wrong or something like that. But pilot pressure is what controls the spools. So this is the cup for the spool valve. There's a spool valve underneath here that goes into this block. So this has to have a certain amount of pressure to cycle this spool. And this is probably the most important thing, it seems like, in an excavator for it to operate correctly. It has to be within a certain range at idle, and it has to be within a certain range at full speed ahead. I'm going to try to get it in the middle, maybe a little on the top side of the middle, but I'm not the guy that cranks it all the way up. So what pilot pressure is going to do for your machine, so say you're using a machine, it's got a lot of power, but it's just kind of slow. So if you speed up your spool or your pilot pressure a little bit, it's gonna activate the spools faster, and it's gonna make the machine react a little faster. There again, if it reacts too fast for you, maybe your pilot pressure is too high, and you need to lower your pilot pressure a little bit. I talked to a guy last night that I went and got this fitting from, Randy Sieber. He's actually 5 miles that way. He does a lot of mobile repair. I don't like bothering a bunch of people. I know, Jeremy, I bother you all the time. I'm sorry. I'm trying to use a different outlet so I don't drive you crazy. A buddy of mine lives in Virginia, and he knows these machines really well. If you're around the Virginia area, call Tiger Equipment. Ask to talk to Speedbinder Jeremy, and he'll know who sent you. But he's very knowledgeable. He knows this machine at least well enough he can get me to pick around on it. And then I got the diagnostic manual and stuff like that, so I could show him what the spools were doing, and he's walked me around everything. But this is where you start. You start on your pilot pressure, because if your pilot pressure's off, nothing else is correct. And I tried jumping around to everything else just a little bit, and then I made the mistake and I put a final drive on the machine, and it didn't fix it. So please don't do that. Hopefully this video will help you not do that if you're trying to work on your machine yourself. If you don't have the equipment, like I went and bought tester gauges, and this video might be a little long, I apologize, but I'm trying to kind of work into this whole diagnostic video that we're going to have. I'm going to have a kind of a series on this, because I imagine I'm just not going to find it first thing I check. So I bought, this is just off Amazon, Measure Man, never heard of them, but I bought a 3-gauge set. So it comes with 1,000, 3,000, and 5,000 PSI gauges. You need to have gauges. You need to have, especially on this, you need this fitting, and I need a couple more. Well, he had this. I went and just gave him some money for it and grabbed it last night. And then he said, hey, bring your laptop when you come. So I brought my laptop. We were going through, and he was trying to help me understand the way some of this stuff works a little better. Anyways, and I had a pretty good idea because of Jeremy, but I think I worked through a little more and a little more with Randy last night. So anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use my gauge. I've got the 1,000 PSI because my range, I'll tell you for sure in the computer. I'll show you the computer and show you the ranges. I want to say I need to be like 485 at idle, in power mode with auto idle off, and then, you know, fast idle or whatever you want to call it, throttle all the way up, full speed ahead. You want to be like 585, I think it's 485 and 585, somewhere in that range is where the upper scale of the center of the line, it's probably 60% of scale, if that makes sense. It's not dead in the middle, but it's a little higher. but I'll show you the ranges like I say. So we need to get the temperature up. I'm gonna grab a temperature gauge and actually shoot. I'll probably just shoot the tank and kind of see what the tank is. I can tell you it's not 110 degrees. So I really don't want to run this machine a bunch in case I have a pump problem. I don't want to keep sending material through the machine if we do have a pump problem, but I'm probably going to have to run this thing up to high idle, fast idle, whatever you want to call it, and try to get it warmed up, because we need it at least close to 100 degrees, I would say. It may be a little tough to do because it's cold outside. I might try to track it back and forth and try to get it going, and see if we can't get that temperature up a little bit, but I'll let it run. I'm gonna throw some diesel treat in it because it's starting to get cold. I don't know if they have treated fuel in it. I haven't had to fill it up yet. It came with a full tank. Anyways, and we'll get this gauge on and we're gonna check pilot pressure. And then I'll try to go in and explain, you know, once we figure it out, I'll try to explain what's going on with it, and I'll show you some of the characteristics later on in the next videos, why pilot pressure is important. So, all right, let's try. I'm trying to let you guys see, kind of, I guess you can't see. Trying to get you guys in there to where you can see what I'm doing here. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe kind of, sort of. But it's incredibly hard. Oh, hang on. I believe the pressure on the hydraulic tank. All that is a button on top of the hydraulic tank to bleed your pressure. Everything says bleed pressure first, so I just climb up on the track back there. It's kind of why I have the machine sitting a little cattywampus. And I think what I'm going to do is I am going to put this fitting on first before I ever get it down in there. Try to figure out where I'm going to need it here. Kind of working off camera here a little bit. I put the fitting on there first. Let me see if I can get, yep. Let's get this off. We have to put our fitting in between that, because that's where we're checking our pilot pressure at. That may hinder me, I don't know. Let's see. I may not be able to have the hose on there first. Different access point maybe. Okay, the moment of truth, as they say. Let's see what this thing does at idle. Hopefully it doesn't spray oil all over. Wait for it to do its thing. Idle. It's in power mode. What do we have? That seems extremely high. Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's not what I expected. That's not what I expected. I'm afraid to well, here, let's go halfway up just to see kind of what pilot goes up to. Didn't really move. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not quite sure what to say about that. Why would pilot pressure be so high and not change? We're not leaking. I'm gonna shut the machine down. I'm gonna crack the line loose up here and kind of bleed the gauge, if you will. I don't know. This may not be an informative video. This may be just, you know, one of those really strange. I wonder if I don't have to put operator presence down. Sorry, thinking through what's going on here. I'll show you just why I kind of have it sitting canted. Climb up here. Believe that didn't have a lot of pressure on it like normal. All right, I'm gonna bleed this gauge. I'm gonna set you guys back in the cab. It's really cold. It's just gonna juice my batteries, and I'll see. I'm gonna start it back up and we'll see what it does, and then I'm going to look up and see if it has anything in the diagnostic portion of if this thing has really high pressure. I mean, it's really high pressure, which doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm thinking too much out loud on camera, and I'm going to bore you guys, but let me play with this a little bit and we'll be back. Odd. All right, guys. So I went inside, I got the computer. I'm trying to get this regulator out right there. It's not a great way to try to get you guys a view on it. And apparently I can't turn it right there. Let me go get, well, hang on, can I get to it? Through here. Yep, there we go. All right, we're pulling this regulator apart and we're gonna see what's in here. I went in and got the computer back up to try to get an exploded view of it with no success. So hopefully we don't have a bunch of stuff just fall out in here. I don't know what to expect. I'll take my glasses off so I can see a little better in there. Probably some shims in here. I kind of like to know what to expect, so that's why I was hoping to have an exploded view of it, but nothing. Put the ratchet down so I can maybe have both hands in there. Hopefully you guys can kind of see what's going on. There's a spring. There's nothing in there. Nothing like what I expected. I swung out here. So here's the cap. Got a spring, I think. maybe those are shims. There's something inside there. It kind of moves around. Maybe I need to get a magnet. Those are our shims. Here's our shim stack. And that looks like a washer. That doesn't look like a shim. That's nice and shiny. It does not match the other two. It's supposed to be like a 1/2 millimeter and a millimeter. And it looks like somebody put a washer in this machine to crank up Pilot. That's definitely not, I don't know if you can tell how thick those are. So this one's the thickest, and then that one's half the thickness, right? And then we have, bam, Gargantua. Okay, let's check these shims here. 1/2 millimeter. That's what it's supposed to be. 1/2 millimeter and 1 millimeter shims. 1 millimeter shim. Now for our washer. Holy cow. I am so agitated right now. I don't know if maybe the dealer did this. I hate to blame somebody for doing something like this, but I don't know if the dealer did it or maybe the people that traded the machine in did it, but it's obvious this looks like a new washer. It doesn't look like it's been in there long at all. See how that's got some discoloration and whatnot? Like darker areas, lighter areas. This hasn't been in there long at all. So I don't know if they were having a problem with this machine and they tried to overdrive the pump to try to get some use out of it, to try to trade the machine in, or if the dealer did it, or this might have been done from the dealer from the get-go to crank the machine up. Or somebody might have done it to the row machine when it first, you know, when they first started using the machine. I'm not quite sure what to do. My brain tells me just to put factory back in. I need to go in and check spec. I think if for every 1/2 millimeter, I want to say that I lose 22 PSI. So if I lose that, I'll lose, let's just call it 75 PSI. That would bring me down within range. I would be on the upper side of range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the thinnest shim and then the thicker shim, and then I don't know if that's paint. And then I'm going to put this regulator spring back in, and we'll put the cap back on. Fire it up, see if my pressure, I went ahead and took the diagnostic hose, well, I mean the pressure tester hose. I took it all apart because after I got to that point where it had a whole lot of pressure, I was like, well, I'm not quite sure what to do. And then my camera died, or not my camera, my gosh, my laptop died. Well, it wasn't out of battery, it was just too cold. It decided to shut off. So I've got the 2 proper shims in. I would assume that that is probably the factory setup with how many shims it had in there from the get-go when it was built, instead of having the super shim. Oh my gosh, guys. Scandalous people. And like I said, it might not have been the dealer. It might have been the original dealer. We don't know. Who knows? I may try to call the original people that owned it. It's a one-owner machine. I wouldn't think that a Deere dealer would crank a machine up like that. There's a torque spec on that. It's not very tight. I think it was like 210 inch-pounds. I just snugged it up. I didn't go crazy. Okay, I'm gonna get my diagnostic hose in this. I'm gonna see if this brought my pressure down. So, hang out. Oh my gosh, I'm so mad. Where'd my super shim go? Now I lost my super shim. I think I just knocked it down when I was putting that plug back in. Anyways, all right, give me a minute. We're gonna put our test hose back in. Try to get this started first. That was kind of a pain. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring you guys down here and you can watch. And you can be the first to see where our pressure is now. The bad thing is it's not gonna make the machine operate any better, I don't think. That's within range. That's high within range. We're about 575, 580 right there. I think top of the scale is 595. And we're a little low there. I think the top of the scale there is 685. So that's not horrible. That's probably where I'd leave it. If anything, I might drop it down just a little bit. You know, take that little thin 0.5 millimeter shim out. And two, we're not up to temperature yet. So let's do this. I'm gonna set that pressure gauge up inside the machine. Let's sit you guys in the machine. Give me 1 minute. Let me get the tools picked up and we're gonna operate this. Maybe somehow it's overstroking it and not letting it work right. I really don't think so. I think it's gonna be the opposite of that. But give me a minute. All right, let's see what temperature we're at. 102. All right, we're within range to check our pressure. Oh, that's a beautiful sight. What is that? 550 PSI at idle. That is within spec. And we'll go fast idle, in power. Yep, that is like beautifully within spec. Okay, let's check it. Let's see what, if we made it worse, if we made it better. I don't know. I assume it's going to be worse, but maybe we were overstroking the valves. So operator presence. Well, it's still, what do we got? We're in turtle, auto idle off, in power mode. Well, it didn't slow down. Is that faster? That might be faster. I think it is faster. Okay. Oh. Okay, that has more power. That's more power than what it had by a long shot. Okay. Okay. This is looking good. What are you guys looking at? This will be the telltale. I really don't even want to touch the controls. Wait a minute. Before I could pull my right controller, it would not move the machine. Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? It would not move the machine before. That final drive was so weak. Let's try it and rev it. Oh my Lord. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? All right, we're in turtle. We're still overpowering with the left side. But before, I couldn't do this. It wouldn't do that. That final drive would stall. We're in turtle. Rabbit. Still won't move it. See, the left side moves it pretty good. I mean, it'll move it at times. Back to turtle. But let's remember, I've got an aftermarket or a replacement final drive on the right side. My gear reduction might not be identical. So did we fix the machine by taking a washer out? That's the question. I need to make some phone calls, but it's Sunday and I don't want to bug anybody on a Sunday. I mean, to me, wow. To me, it seems like it's way better than it was, because it would not do this. It would not do that. Would not. That right side would struggle to do anything. Oh my gosh. I'm seriously about to put a final drive back on the right side and just sell the new one. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Well, if I just fix this machine by taking a 5 or 10 cent washer out, I'm gonna be happy, but I'm gonna be the most pissed off person in the world. Why would you do that to your machine? Why would you crank your pilot pressure up and make it seem like the machine, I mean, you would have to know that if you put that washer in there, and you're cranking your pressure up, and then your machine slows down and doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you would think that you would take the washer back out. I don't understand, but the machine is doing much better now. That's the only thing I can say. I seriously think I'm gonna take that final drive off. I just got the thumb. Flip back over there. I'll get it ratchet strap back on. I'm going to pull the pressure gauge off because our pressure's good. Actually, I'm going to check the pressure one more time. Then I'm going to pull the pressure gauge off, and then I'm going to go in and read the manual again and see if I need to adjust some relief. Actually, I think the right side only has a check valve, at least for the tracks. I don't know. I'm going to go in and read it and see what we got going on. But at least as of right now, it is definitely better than what it was. The bad thing is we still may need a pump. We'll see. I'll let you guys know what I found diagnostic wise.